This is all very embarrassing. I'm so glad that, I know how good this institute is. Because I've never heard students cheer for their teachers so much. I've traveled across the country, and when students are so happy and hooting and cheering for their teachers, it's a good place. They're going to create many filmmakers here. So anyway, I'll just talk about things. I'll take it from where Mr. L.V.Prasad left off, expand on that, because all of you are going to be filmmakers now. So first thing I'll say, welcome to a life of insecurity. It's consistent insecurity, and I think you should fear the day you feel secure, because then everything goes downhill from there. And like Mr. L.V.Prasad was saying, failure is the biggest teacher, greatest teacher. I get very scared when somebody succeeds with their first film. I think the worst thing you can do to a filmmaker is give him all the success in the world with the first film. Second is fine, third is fine, not the first film. Because then I don't know what happens to them. And it's like there's so many things, like he said that everything, Mr. L.V.Prasad again said that, everything that you have learned so far is not going to be of any use. And I agree with that. Because it's going to be of a lot of use only if you need to put application to it. And you need to know how to deal with life. You will see a lot of things. You have to understand you're getting into a business where nobody wants you. You are going to make movies nobody wants you to make. You're going to people and you're going to ask them for their money to live your dream. So there's so many things that you are going to face which I don't think you're prepared for. Nobody owes it to you. No one owes it to you. You want to be a filmmaker, it's only your responsibility. No one owes it to you. What film you want to make, how you want to do it is entirely your responsibility. Nothing is going to be given to you in a platter. Nobody's sitting there waiting for you to come and, just change everything. Nobody wants you. Everybody is very happy. You have to understand cinema is art for the artist, for the filmmaker who wants to create art. But for the man who's the patron of the art is also a businessman. The man who's going to give you the money to make a film is a businessman. It's a well you are going to draw the water from. But that well, if it runs dry, then there'll be no more water there, right? So you have to figure out a way where you make films and you give back so that, you continue making films. One thing that I've seen a lot of filmmakers, a lot of my classmates, friends, a lot of people who have made films and who's made one film or two films, and they're far more brilliant than I ever was. I have always believed that I'm a very mediocre filmmaker, but I think that I have a lot more courage sometimes and I have probably a lot more drive. But as far as the understanding of cinema and art or anything else is concerned, I think I'm very mediocre. I can talk about a whole lot of filmmakers who I have learned from and I still learn from, and they still don't make films. And I do, every year. And there's a reason to that which I want to tell you. The reason is that, a lot of filmmakers lose their way, and especially it happens to filmmakers. It will not happen to engineers and doctors and other people, but it often happens to filmmakers. They lose themselves in their own greatness. There's a hell of a lot of peer pressure that they walk into the world with. They walk into the world with wanting to be Fellini or Scorsese or someone, and they forget that they need to be themselves. You don't really need to follow in anyone's footsteps. You need to create your own footsteps. And you can do that by being yourself. The biggest thing that you can bring to the industry is you yourself. Where you are coming from, what your life has been, what is your perspective, what is your point of view. And a lot of filmmakers lose that the moment they walk in. They want to imitate something that has impressed them. They want to, because what you are is original. You are a sum of lots of unoriginal cliched things, but the sum total is original. And what you are is original. And when you are an original self and you are your own self, and when you put yourself out there, the first thing you'll face is rejection. Because nobody is familiar with you. So first thing they'll do is they'll reject you. First thing they'll tell you is not to be yourself. And that's where the fight begins. That's where, because everybody will trash you, everybody will criticize you, everybody will say, this doesn't work. And yes, nothing works. And everything works. And only you can make it work. And I'll not just say things because sometimes it sounds like I'm giving some kind of a lecture. I'll give you examples in the sense, the many times in your life you take decisions, and those decisions that you take, people around you will always tell you, you must not take them. When I went into the film industry, I had no film school education. There was FTI, there was Jamia Millia, there was a small course in XIC, but there are really not very many film schools then that I was aware of. And I was far too educated to go in there and ask for a job, which is what everybody told me, because I was studying to be a scientist. I had finished my studies and then went to Bombay. And I carried a bag full of books, which in itself was intimidating in the industry, because when I went there and I realized that a lot of people don't read in the industry. The moment they get into films, they stop reading. They don't have the habit of reading. And I had to hide my books, because if I carried my books, I didn't have a place to stay. I had to hide my books because that meant that I will not get any job. So I had to hide my education. And the first thing is that kicked in was my survival instinct. I wanted to get into a place, and I realized that that place was Prithvi Theatre, which will not allow anyone who's not already working there. And nobody knew me, and why would they want me there? And the first thing I did was, I walked in to the cafe and asked Ujjwal, there's a manager there, and asked him that, can I get a job as a waiter? And he looked at me and he said, why would you want to work as a waiter? I said, no, I need a job and I would work as a waiter. He said, I don't need any waiter. I said, I don't want money from you. I'll serve during the lunch time, and evenings I'll be free. And it was a hard negotiation. He was too guilty of not giving me a free job. I really wanted, he did not know that why I wanted that job very badly. So we worked out a deal where I said, whatever food your customers don't take, I can eat that food at the end of the day, and I'll take the job as a waiter. Very third day I served my friend. No, I'm not saying this so that you clap, I'm just trying to reach a point. What happened was, I started working the very third day I served a friend in that restaurant in Prithvi Theatre. And I realized at that time, and that was, I'm talking about 1992-93, when there were no studios, nothing. A lot of films were made by few families, and you had to have a lot of experience to get in there. A rank newcomer will find no place there. But the one thing I learned was, we are in a country where everybody likes anything that's given to them free, right? And that's the thing that I used to get in everywhere. I got into Prithvi because I didn't want money. I started going to every single studio, started offering my services to write. I had the capacity to write a lot, and for free, without asking for credit, without asking for money. And I think within 2-3 years, things worked out very well, and I was writing the first daily soaps and I was getting a lot of money. I was 22 and I was making 3 lakhs a month in the year 1995. And that was a lot of money then. And after working for 2-3 months, I made a lot of money. There came an offer my way, which offered me 10,000 bucks a month. But the condition was I quit everything else. And the person who gave me that offer, he said, I can only pay you for 10 months because my total budget is 1 lakh. And I was making 3 lakhs a month. And I went back to my family. I knew that I wanted to take that job, take that offer. My whole family, everyone told me that after 3 years of struggle, you're suddenly making so much money. Everything is working for you. Why do you want to take that offer? I said, I don't know. That's the film that I really want to do. And I really want to do the film. And the fights went on, people stopped talking to me, and I picked up that film, and that film was Satya. And it's always the choices that you make. Because somewhere instinctively I said, this is what I want to do. Everything else is going to make me money. Everything else was making me secure. It was making me secure. It would have sorted my life out. It was making me secure. And consciously choosing that path against all odds, it made my life miserable for next few years. Because Satya was not made in 10 months. Satya was made in 2.5 years. Satya was made in 2.5 years, and we had to figure out how to survive. Food was not a problem because working with Ramoji, you got food everywhere. But you know, where do you go back to? Where do you hide? What do you do? My 2.5 years I spent in editing rooms. I spent mixing in Chennai. That was also my introduction to Chennai. I spent 4-5 years here. And you know, it's always those choices, always choosing those films and saying no to things that everybody wanted me to do. And it's those choices that probably brought me to a point. And in the beginning, I used to think maybe one day I'll get to a point where life will be secure. But even today, I have to fight and struggle for my next film. Even today, I have to sit down and work backwards. And what I figured out in all these years is that we all, often when we leave film school, the first thing we do is, of course we want to make art, and of course we want to create art. But we somehow feel that being an artist gives us a license which has so much of freedom that we can get away with anything. It doesn't have any responsibility because I'm just an artist and I'm expressing myself, and all that is fine. And we think because we are an artist, we'll find money or we'll find some kind of a thing, and we stand up for our rights and we fight for things, thinking it's world's responsibility. It is not. You are making a film that costs money. Making a movie is not like writing a book. Making a movie is not painting a canvas, where all you need is something that doesn't cost you money. Making a movie costs money. It's a passion, it's an art form that costs money, and that's always somebody else's money. And that is something that you should not and must not forget. And if I want to make that one film, then it's fine, you can take it for granted. But if I make sure and if I take it my responsibility that my film recovers the cost or brings it to a point where the man who's given me the money feels secure. Maybe some people just want an award and recognition, maybe something. If you know where we're getting the money from and to what end, you give back, I can guarantee you'll be making a second film with no problems. If you keep that responsibility with you, you'll be making a second film and third film and fourth film. And that's exactly what I've done. In the sense, I've realized over a period of time that I want my freedom, and for my freedom, I must pay a price. And that price is that I cannot have EMIs. Very early on in life, I realized that I have EMIs, my EMIs will start making decisions for me. So I never took anything on loan from a bank. I don't have any EMIs. You don't make those choices where things pull you down. You don't make those choices where somebody takes it away. And my freedom came, and I realized over a period of time that a lot of people, or producers in the industry, a lot of people who make movies, other than directors, I'm talking about people who actually greenlight their movies, a lot of them don't know what works. Everybody pretends to know what works. Everybody feels very secure because if something that you're doing references what has worked in the past, it makes them feel good. They feel deep inside that, okay, a film like this has worked in the past, so this will also work, and they feel secure and they give you the money. And they are often looking at you to see your confidence, to see how sure you are about what you want to do. And long time back I realized I'm making movies that might not make sense on paper, but maybe they will see why I'm doing that after I've made it. But to reach from the point of wanting to make it to after having made it is a journey I must take. And to take that journey, I must get the money. And I always work backwards, and which is something that I always tell everyone. Even my films that I produce with my newcomers, I do not greenlight them till they have worked on it backwards, till they have not minimized the cost. I make films at the lowest cost possible. And what I always did was I realized the studio wants to know why am I making this film. So I would minimize the budget, I'll add a feast to the film. And I would often go to the producer, and it came to that discussion point of why we should make a film. I said, trust me. And for that trust, I'll forfeit my fees. It's very important I added fees, but I could have easily taken it out in the beginning. But I would add a fees and make sure that they know that I'm forfeiting the fees. And that's how I got to keep a Nawazuddin instead of a big star in Wasipur. That's how I got to make Devdi the way I wanted to make it. That's how I got to make all those films. And it became my responsibility. And even after that, I would carry my own films to try and sell them the world over. When they told me your films are not selling overseas, I had to figure out how to sell my film overseas. And that's how I discovered the festivals. So there's a lot of responsibility you carry. It's almost a filmmaker's job is 50% being an MBA, 50% being a manager. You're managing your actors, you're managing your team, you're making 100 people on the set believe in your dream. It's not their dream. They're working to fulfill your dream. And that's a lot of responsibility. And that cannot, that's a responsibility with which you cannot afford to be so arrogant that you look down on all the people who are working with you. If you can't take your team with you, trust me, you will not make more than 1 or 2 films. It's very important. I will have no money and my team will come and will make a film. We made Gulal over 6 years. Every single person who worked on Gulal worked for free. From every actor to the music director to everyone. And over 7 years, the whole industry did not want us to make the film. Every Diwali we would go and shoot. And we made the film because we were all equals. We went there, we lived that passion, we made that film. And that was the only way we could change the system. Because, trust me, nobody wants you here. Nobody owes it to you. And nobody is going to have time to waste it on you. It's all up to you. So when you step out there is where the real learning will begin. When you step out there is how you will start to figure things out. There's never a point you know everything. I still don't know anything. Every day you learn something new. So don't go there with thinking that I know everything and there's nothing more to be learned. Otherwise, then your journey is over and it's ended. You've lived your life. So it's better to not know anything and step in there. And I hope all of you guys do well, because for me it's the younger filmmakers who are constantly changing the language of cinema, and it's the younger filmmakers that I look forward to. बाकी तो सब बुड्ढे हो गए हम लोग. Thank you so much.